Hello. I wanted to share with you a little bit of a behind the scenes tutorial, of how I find podcasts to pitch in Apple Podcasts. So this might look a little bit different if you're on a desktop versus a mobile, but this is literally just the Apple Podcasts app on my desktop. So obviously you guys are probably all familiar with this, but the first thing that I would be doing is pulling up this. I would also be pulling up the checklist so that you have those questions that are top of mind, and pulling up the tracker so you can note down the ones that you find, right, that catch your eye. So the first thing we're going to do is put in our niche, our topic, what it is that we want to start talking about, which we would have worked out when we were watching the training, right? So what is that thing that you want to be known for? And that's what I'll be putting in. So I'm going to put in email marketing because I'm obsessed with it. So we're going to search the niche. Now, there's a few different ways we can do this using Apple Podcasts, but this is the first way that I would start with. So straight away, this one here catches my eye. I'm not subscribed to it, but that's interesting. Jenna Kutcher has that's her freebie, podcast for the win. So this one catches my eye straight away. Easy email marketing. She looks lovely. I'm going to click on that. So looking at my checklist, the first thing that I want to be looking at is, does this podcast match the topics that I want to talk about, the goal that I have? Of course, I'm wanting to funnel people through to either my freebie, which is the Kickstart Your Email Challenge, and then eventually to the Spotlight Club, because there's actually an invitation on the back end of that sequence inviting them to join the Spotlight Club. So I know that anything about email marketing is going to do that. The target audience obviously want to know about email marketing, so tick for that. So the main thing that we're looking at now is, I'm like, okay, so all that lines up. Now, is she doing regular, consistent episodes? And she is every 2 weeks. Super consistent, which is great. Lots of topics. Lots of different topics. 92 episodes, so she's been going for a while. She's got great reviews. So you can see she's been active at it for 2 years, 92 episodes. Looks amazing. Now, the next thing I'm looking at is, does she actually have guests? Because these look like they're all solo episodes. So we're going to see all. I'm going to scroll through. Okay, there we go. Straight away. So April, she had a guest. It looks like that was the last guest that she had. It looks like did she have a break in here? Or is that just every 2 weeks? June, July, August, September. I don't know. I guess it's because they're spread out for 2 weeks apart. It's not that long of a list, but that's okay. So yeah, so it looks like she is definitely, having guests occasionally. Okay, and then she was having them. There's one from last year. So not all the time, but that isn't a red flag for me. That just tells me that my pitch needs to be really good to make sure that it suits her podcast. It's going to serve her audience. So again, looking at the checklist, definitely I'll be able to work out a fresh perspective knowing that it's all on email. There's a lot of email marketing content, but thinking about even growing your email list with bundles or ways that I can come at this so that it's not exactly on email marketing, but it is related to it, I think will be good. They're publishing consistent and regular episodes, and they do have guests as a part of the content. So everything there ticks the boxes. So I would be adding this podcast to my list in the tracker. And then if you scroll on down, you can see you might also like. So I often get ideas from this. So will go onto the really big podcasts like Jenna Kutcher, like Amy Porterfield, click on them, scroll all the way down and see which other podcasts are also recommended. So let's look at this one. The Email Marketing Show. Very regular again. Looks like every week. That one might have been every week as well. But anyway, every week. Lots of reviews. Wow, lots of episodes. I like that they swear. The thing, and I talked about this in the training as well, but we need to make sure we're finding podcasts that we feel safe to go on, that we don't feel like we have to filter our true self, right? And if I drop an F-bomb, at least I know it's probably going to be okay on this podcast. the Fun Email Marketing Podcast. I love that. Sell more of your online course, grow your membership, and bring in more coaching clients with email marketing that doesn't stink. Then join Rob and Kennedy for your weekly dose of fun, practical yet brutally honest email marketing advice. Okay, that sounds amazing. Listeners even from Australia, which is great. Okay, and let's see if they have guests. Hillary's story. Okay, there's a guest there just from August. Looks like some of these I really need to listen to. Okay, so not a lot of guests again, but as long as I make my pitch really stand out, there's definitely a chance that they would have a guest on, so that's great. So again, going through the checklist, ticking it off. If it suits everything, adding it on to your tracker. Now let's just do one more. Let's go on to Amy's and see which ones are recommended. So obviously because she is sponsored, so the Integrity Network must be her kind of sponsor. So there's random ones there, but this you might almost like. That's what we want. I need a coffee. So yeah, scrolling through here. So some of these are massive. You know, I wouldn't pitch Jasmine Star yet. I wouldn't pitch Jenna Kutcher yet. I mean, I could try, but I also would want to be more confident myself, right, before you go pitching those massive ones that actually do have big audiences. And I do think in this whole process, you can get incredible results when you've really niched down and you're going for a targeted podcast. It just doesn't talk about entrepreneurship. But for me, if I was pitching email marketing podcasts with a very strategic freebie, or a very strategic call to action, then you're probably going to see better results than a really big podcast that's really broad, from my experience anyway. So I mean, there's some here. So interestingly, that's come up. So Laurie, is that what her name is? I think it is. And there's Laurie. So her podcast, when I was looking and doing some podcast pitching for a client, I found her application form and you had to pay to apply and it was a lot of money. So just know you don't need to do that. Please don't ever pay to apply to speak on a podcast. These are all very established. So going this route today has not really worked. Dr. JJ Patterson. Copyright Donald Miller. Yeah, so like big podcasts, I wouldn't bother pitching them personally. For where I'm at anyway, The Art of Online Business. Yeah, so they're all big. Okay, so let's go back to this one. Let's scroll through here and see. So what's this one? Hello, delicious emails, Allison. Again, fun little titles. Can't see that she's having any guests yet. But this might be a woman that even if I decided not to pitch her for being on the podcast, maybe a freebie swap, maybe connecting and collaborating in a different way. Maybe when I have my next bundle ready, she'd be a good person to have as a part of a bundle. So just know when you're doing this, if you come across people that are just starting out or that might not have guests, maybe they are just a solo podcast host, still note them down because you might be able to collaborate with them in a different way down the track. So definitely want you to be thinking of that in the back of your mind as well. What's this one? So much Black Friday education now, which is great. People are getting a head start. I love it. So definitely has guests, lots of episodes. It's been going for a couple of years. It's more for ecom, so not that that's not a good thing, but because I don't generally, my ideal client doesn't have a product-based business, would still be a great podcast to be on, I'm sure. I love that she's her face there. She looks lovely. I'm sure it's still a great podcast to be on, but remembering, does this podcast match with my ideal client? Probably not. Most of my ideal clients are coaches and course creators. I do have some product-based businesses that are in the Spotlight Club, but generally speaking, it is not part of that ideal client avatar, that perfect person, right? That we've talked about before. Okay, so that's kind of how I use iTunes. So I would go through, so email marketing, I'd next do like bundle, I do visibility, I do online coach, I do just words like that my ideal client might be listening to, and then see what I came up with. So I hope you found that helpful. I've also got another little tutorial all about Listen Notes, which is a podcast directory. So have a look at that. And then as you start to get your pitch list together, as you start to brainstorm, don't be afraid to pop into the Slack channel, ask questions, share the list with me. I'm totally here for anything that you need, but I hope that you found that a little bit valuable. All right, I'll talk to you soon.